Thank you. Thank you. Firstly, welcome everybody. So now, this physical level, now 58 years. Now India is my second home. Then mentally, on the level of brain is concerned, since my childhood, I always correct. Now, since I think 6-year-old, already start the ancient Indian knowledge. So we physically now refugee and stateless, but mentally India is our spiritual home or our home of our knowledge. So like that, and with India's freedom, a lot of new opportunities, meeting with different people and different people from different spiritual tradition, and particularly scientists, last now over 30 years. So this very room, several occasions, some discussions with modern scientists. So since Buddha Dharma, the very much emphasis, particularly Nalanda tradition, very much emphasis searching or reasoning and experiment, not just a faith or belief. We always use our intelligence, analyze. So I really feel very happy this opportunity meeting with scientists like that. Then also say opportunity to visit different places. So me personally have the opportunity to create more my friends. I think many friends in many different places because of my smile. My smile is a genuine smile, not artificial smile, isn't it? Or diplomatic smile. Some artificial smile, some diplomatic smile sometimes bring more suspicion. Why? But genuine human smile, I think, expression of genuine love. On the level I practice, as Buddhist monk, I practice because of happiness or because of the cessation of suffering, entire sentient being. When I thought that, then the practical level, only 7 million human beings on this planet. Limitless insects, fish, because of the animals, we cannot do anything. And there's no question, other planet, we cannot do anything. Only hope is human being, 7 million human beings. We have this same human brain and language, so different language, so we can communicate with human being. And also it is quite important, I think the most troublemaker of species of mammal on this planet is human being. Isn't it? I think quite pity. This marvelous human brain used for destruction, destruct. How pity, right? How sad. So this brain have, I think, great potential to develop infinite love. Only human being can do that because of this brain. So now youth, young people, you are, I usually describe, generation of 21st century. Tadala and myself and these older people, you see, we are generation of 20th century. Our century already gone. Past can never change. Future empty. We can change future. So you are the generation of 21st century. So 21st century, just the beginning. So if you with a certain vision and determination and use your ability, you can definitely make some significant sort of contribution for better world. So I'm indeed very happy meeting with you, and then especially the Emory University. Emory University, we have some special connection. So last, how many years passed? You don't do. So more than 10 years, we have some special connection, immense helpful. And then also training or giving some education about science and with English. So far, how many people? How many monks?
Your Holiness, right now there are over 1,000 monastics partaking in summer program at Dharamsala.
One kaze?
Over 1,000 monks at Dharamsala, and then 4 classes.
Oh,
at the same time.
1,000. Oh, very good, very good. There's a reason. Knowledge in Tibetan sort of good students, particularly monastic student, I think knowledge about ancient Indian logic and ancient Indian knowledge about mind or emotion. Then important is how to tackle our emotion. This knowledge, not only just for next life or heaven or these things, day-to-day life, in order to become happier human individual. These knowledge very, very helpful. So we preserved these over 1,000 years, while the original place, India, much neglected. You from India?
Yes, Your Holiness.
Your parents from where?
My parents are from Delhi, Your Holiness, and I grew up in the States.
Right. So modern Indian, you see, they're too much excited about modern education, modern technology, modern economy, these things, and also modern politics. So, generally speaking, I think the knowledge about your own 1,000 years, certain knowledge in 1,000 years ago, right? 2,000 years ago. Yeah. You see, these because of that, I think much neglected. So these very, very useful, very useful. So the material there, knowledge, but language problem. And also this knowledge we need little bit sort of modified way. Modify. In that respect, knowledge about modern science is very, very helpful. So a class about 1,000 some monk students. So very good. Thank you.
Your Holiness, it's...
Madesh. Chör ma dena go yag thungi. Ya la ne sha thom de. Chigyur.
His Holiness is saying that he sits down, His Holiness can see his bald head. If he stands up, he can't see it.
Yes.
Your Holiness, it's always a great pleasure and the honor for our students to be here to receive Your Holiness's blessings and the word of advice. This year we have 27 students, mostly from Emory University. We do have 2 students participating from other universities through Emory. And one of the students here, Jigme, actually, is at Oxford College, one of the colleges at Emory University, and participating in this audience with the students. The summer program began in 2009, and it focuses on inner science of mind in Buddhism, but also Tibetan culture, particularly that relates to suffering and the illness. And also they focus on contemplative practices, meditations, and so forth. We have been very honored to have the partners like IBD. From the very beginning, the Institute of Buddhist Dialectics has been very, very great partner for us. Since 2014, Drepung Losling Monastery also participated in this summer program. So we spent 3 weeks here in Dharamsala, and then 3 weeks at Drepung Losling. And that coincides with the summer program for monks and nuns in science programs for 6 weeks. So that's
6 weeks.
6 weeks. And this year we have 79 professors from 43 universities participating to teach at Drepung Sera and Ganten. And as I mentioned, there are over 1,000 monks participating in the program. We are very delighted also to be able to offer the science program to nuns as well for the first time this year. 5 nunneries are participating in the program.
Very good.
And 3 from Dharamsala area, 1 from Munkot, and 1 from Balakupi, from Penorum, which is nunnery. And Emory University also sends students from the medical students to the library, and they come in June and spend. Last year they spent 2 weeks. This year they are going to spend 1 week at the library and Mensikang to study Buddhism with the Geshe-la at the library, and medicine at the Mensikang. And our faculty also comes from the medical school to teach the human biology and other aspects of medicine to the Mensikang students every year, and this has been happening for 5 years now. Our students have some questions, Your Holiness.
Yes.
There are 5 of them that they prepared questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, very
Thank
good.
you so much.
Thank you.
Your Holiness.
Usually, I usually call not necessarily Buddhist psychology. If we use, of course, those text which we study is a Buddhist text, but the content of these texts, psychology, these are something common in ancient India. So the non-Buddhist scholars, you see, we can see in these Buddhist texts there are a lot of argument, a lot of debate with non-Buddhist. So, in ancient time, among the Jains, among the Rijitavakasa, Vedanta, and also including I think Charvaka, and also Chuti, Changjaba, Sankhya. In ancient time, many good scholars. So since some sort of common subject there, these are common subjects, so you see debate. Otherwise, completely different subject, then you see no basis of discussion. So, you see, my main sort of concern is the knowledge which we learn from Buddhist text now offer to humanity, not Buddhist community. So if we use the word Buddhist psychology, then only for Buddhist. So I usually call ancient Indian psychology. In ancient Indian sort of religion or dharma, including practice of shamatha and practice of vipassana, So any religion which sort of mentioning practice of shamatha, practice of vipassana, automatically there is sort of the kasoda. And automatically it should have some knowledge about a system of mind, system of emotion. So therefore, these things I prefer ancient Indian knowledge. Now, particularly nowadays, one of my commitment is trying to revival of ancient Indian knowledge within the country. Then eventually can share with more people outside India. My own case, my practice, this knowledge come from Buddhist text. But I consider this is Indian traditional sort of kasota knowledge, like that. So that if we use Buddhist psychology, then it little bit kasota narrow. And then India, I think religious harmony already, I think over 1,000 years, religious harmony there. Now we must make every effort, all our contribution must keep in our mind according to the unity, harmony of these different religious traditions. So if we too much emphasis Buddhism, then it may not reach others or follow of other tradition. So as a matter of fact, all these are Indian tradition, like that. Yes, your question?
Your Holiness, good morning and namaste. My name is Thalin. On behalf of the Emory students, we would like to thank you for taking this time to meet with us. We are so grateful to have this session with our distinguished professor. Your Holiness, we have heard you say that whether history remembers the 21st century as happy or unhappy is in the hands of our generation, the
Right.
21st century generation.
Right.
Unfortunately, we see the rise of nationalism, economic disparity, and divisions between different groups of people. Sometimes it even seems impossible to engage with members of our own families and communities. How can we confront these challenges to foster a century of peace? Thank you.
That's really, I think, serious matter. I always admire the spirit of European Union. Now Great Britain already left European Union. And then American president also, you see, seems to say not very favor. So just German Chancellor, I think, mentioned now the European countries, they have some sort of the major responsibility, you see, work together. The Great Britain already left, and American also, you see, showing less interest. So it is quite sad. I always, you see, feel the European Union, you see, is example of, you see, different nation in the past several centuries enemy each other, fighting, killing each other. But in new circumstances after Second World War, then I think on the basis of reconciliation, then forgiveness, and eventually create this European Union. I always say, hoping and also telling, now the same sort of spirit should develop in Africa, African Union, then Latin American Union. So eventually, Asia's union. then eventually India, China, Japan, these major sort of Asian nations, some kind of the union. That's the best guarantee, peace. And also economy benefit to all the member states, like the European Union. So it is actually, I think, awareness, much depends on awareness. You see, thinking, your immediate interest, then some kind of nationalism, my nation, my nation, my nation, my community. Sometimes some politicians in this country, sometimes I sort of expressing, so some politicians, you see, not much thinking India as a whole, but rather their own state. Then further goes their own family. So now time comes, the reality, not like ancient time. Ancient time, you see each nation more or less independently sort of survived, not depend on other. Now that kind of situation completely changed. So politically, even though Pakistan and India, you see politically sometimes difficulties there, but the reality, the future of Pakistan entirely depends on India, like that. You see, have to think oneness of humanity, oneness of world. So I think this awareness, realistically looking future, separate. I think American president, of course, I must respect, you see, because of the president of the leading nation of free world. So I must respect. However, his one sort of first sort of expression, the America first, that means rest of the world is second. But future of America depends on rest of the world. So I think the thinking, the English also, is thinking about their own nation is, I feel, short-sighted. And in the long run, we should think. I always telling that we need sense of oneness of entire humanity. So I always try to sort of make sort of awareness. We really need a sense of oneness of humanity. Then, me personally, that's the best source of happiness. When I consider the 7 billion human beings, say my brothers, sisters, and I feel, a lot of brothers, sisters. If I think, I emphasize, I'm Dalai Lama, then out of 7 billion, only one Dalai Lama, then feeling lonely. But think about humanity, I then feel much happier. Wherever I go, I consider other as a human brothers, sisters. Immediately, you see, we become very close friends. So last few days, I was in Delhi. So morning, when breakfast, you see, come, the because of cook survey, Majin Shamukan chef survey, chef also come. So then we become very close friends. So then I take one sort of bread and put his mouth, and he also, you see, take one bread to put my own sort of mouth. Then second day, he told me he want that repeat. Then we done. Then other new person who's serving, you see, because of the breakfast. So they also, you see, want, it's a similar treatment. No? Then who suffer, you see, some sort of, cream kicker, there are 4, so all 4 gone. We're feeding each other like that. So I suffer. So nice, you see. I always consider we are same human being, no differences. I think, according to my own experience, that's, I think, the ultimate source of human happiness. We are a social animal. If we remain distrust, and how can you develop inner peace? Very difficult. So therefore, now, through education, government level, you cannot do much. But people level and education, through education, I think we should develop the oneness of humanity and think about the whole world, about entire humanity. So I always telling, this century should be, this 21st century should be century of peace. Unlike 20th century, a lot of killing, a lot of violence. Some violence, the beginning of 21st century, is the result of previous centuries' negligence and some kind of way of thinking. Whenever we face some problem, some disagreement, we always rely on how to solve this by force. Now that way of thinking still remain on this planet. So these problems happen. Like so-called Islam, this, you cannot sort of change that by force. From force, you see, you can control human physical, not human emotion. Only make friend and try to create friendship and try to reduce distrust. That's the only way. And religious harmony, as I mentioned earlier. So I think very wording, Islam terrorist, I think wrong. My own sort of clear experience was when Burma, some Buddhists harassed some Muslim community. Then Time magazine, because of front page, one picture of one Buddhist monk, and explained, Buddhist terrorist. I feel uncomfortable. So some indication of Buddhism as well as terrorist. That's impossible. Similarly, it is impossible. Genuine Islam, Muslim practitioner, at the same time, terrorist, impossible. Some Muslim friend is telling me, any Muslim, creates some bloodshed, then no longer genuine follower of Quran. So, the terrorist is terrorist. You see, should not combine the word Muslim terrorist or Buddhist terrorist. Like that. So therefore, now, through education, through awareness, this sense of oneness of the world, of the humanity, not through prayer, but through education, awareness, like that. That's how I feel. Then gradually, I think we can't blame these individuals or the people who too much sort of emphasize their own sort of circle, because the whole society, the materialistic society with materialistic culture, that existing modern education very much oriented about material value, not talking about inner value. So we need, in education, say, not only oriented about material value, but also include education about our inner world, emotion, as a sort of secular sort of way, secular subject, not depend on religious belief. So I think about 200 years ago, I think when Europe began to industrialized. And then the industrialization, the modern education, or separate institution, mainly carrying responsibility for education, start. So at that time, moral ethics is concerned, existing religious institution carry the responsibility. Now time passes, and then the influence of religious institution less and less, and also people more scientific education. They love reasons, not just faith. So therefore, they now finally modern education much increase, still increasing, advance. So the moral ethics side, no one take care. Now education alone should include moral ethics, not depend on any religious faith. Just use our common sense and common experience and a scientific finding. Now, many scientists, now they say the constant anger, constant fear is actually eating our immune system. Whereas constant compassion, you see, very, very helpful to retain our immune system, right? Sometimes improve. So if you want the healthy body, you have to take care about peace of mind. And especially, you see, the ladies, you see, who really, because of the concern about a nice face, and boys also, I think. So, you see, no matter how beautiful face, angry face, not nice. Smiling face, compassionate face, it's really brings more friends, isn't it? Like that. So therefore, there are now the scientific finding. That's everybody agree that. Everybody accepts that. So therefore, on the basis of scientific finding, and then I think one good news I want to share with you. So last few occasions, some scientific meeting, they told me, some scientists say, through their experiment and observation, the basic human nature is more compassionate. When I heard that, then I really developed conviction. Now, basic human nature is more compassionate. Now there is real hope through education. Use our brain without touching religion, without basing on religion, simply use our common sense. Through that way, we can strengthening basic human nature. Like that. Then next question.
Good morning, Your Holiness. My name is Jamie. We as young people find ourselves in an increasingly complex world and have had many difficult decisions ahead of us. Your Holiness, as both the leader of the Tibetan people and as an inspiration for many throughout the world, we know you have had to make many difficult decisions. Have any of these decisions caused you doubt or later regret? Based on your own experience, can you offer us advice for confronting difficult decisions? Thank you.
That's difficult to say. You see, a variety of difficulties, right? So generalize, I think, difficult. My own case, and also share with other people, the motivation is the key factor. And the goal should be something positive, something beneficial to more concerned people. And then motivation, more compassionate motivation. Then, even from the decision, even some, because of the not satisfied effect come, no regret. I take the decision with sincere compassionate motivation, and also the good goal. So ultimately, I think any action, whether right or wrong, ultimately is related with motivation and goal, mainly motivation. Mazum bejanan ya semge wala nyeba mes. Sem sambu jeba ina ji luji jeba da ngage jeba de da sing miteb jeba ine di gyanya maris. Zo sem sambu cha kashi buris to.
So in text, it's mentioned that if you have the positive motivation, then it doesn't matter whether your physical or verbal actions turn out to be negative, seem to be negative, but it's still productive.
Actually, the demarcation, violence and non-violence, not the appearance of action, but motivation. Sincere, compassionate motivation, any action is non-violence. Little angry face out of sense of concern, like parent sometimes showing, you see, more angry face towards the children. And sometimes good teacher, including my own tutor, when I showing much laziness, my teacher showing more harsh sort of facial, and also the harsh word, but out of genuine sense of concern of my own benefit. So these actions are non-violence. On the other hand, negative sort of motivation, try to cheat other people, try to deceive other people, and exploit other people, and use nice word and smile, and including some gift. Apparent non-violence, essentially violence because of negative emotion, motivation, like that. So recently, I was in Arunachal, in East India. From one place to another place, I think at least 4 or 5 days, one Indian politician used to be with me. So we become very close friend. So then I told him, I usually, every night, 9 hours sleep. Then next early morning, about 3 o'clock or 3:30, then I usually meditate 4 or 5 hours, sharpening my mind, so that I can cheat other people more easily. Then he responded me, he sleep only 6 hours, so he cannot cheat other people. Like that. So therefore, motivation is the key factor. Next. So when I have some sort of difficulties, dilemma, how to decide, then I usually ask to more friends. When I was in Lhasa, when I got this sort of responsibility about the temporal responsibility, then no experience, so very difficult. So I asked, not only concerned officials, but also sweepers. This is my close friend. Then sometimes the ordinary, simple people have, I think, more good suggestions. The officials sometimes do too much formality. So like that. So I always ask some sort of important decision. I ask different opinion. Then finally, I myself, then think. Try to look at the thing from various different aspects, angles. Not only just one angle, from this angle, 4 dimensions, 5 dimensions, or 6 dimensions. Then decide. So that I usually do. Then I think as a Buddhist monk, another method is divination. So that's my secret. You don't know. Even you see this rosary. You see, we have certain technique. Of course, some meditation, and then do this. We judge the number of beats. So that also I do. I have some sort of dilemma. Still do not know what is the best. Then finally, I do this kind of divination. Yes.
Hello, Your Holiness. My name is Leah. As Americans, we grew up in a capitalist society where competition is valued and success is measured in material gains. You present a different measure of success centered on kindness and basic human values. How can we pursue personal success in our society in a way that also genuinely benefits others? Thank you.
I think the economy, the capitalist sort of thinking about profit, that also, you see, not necessarily something negative. We human being, economy very much need. Now today's world, so many poverties. Some area in Africa, some Arab country, now dying, particularly children, some old people, due to starvation, neglected, due to negligence. So when we saw, this is some picture of these dying children, two things like that. So we still need more money. So capitalist sort of way, has a market-oriented economy, I think very, very good sort of the dynamic sort of force, very important. Whereas so-called socialist country, including former Soviet Union and also China, not very successful. So Deng Xiaoping, I think as a good communist, realistic communist, so he changed the pattern of economy, so he adopted the market-oriented sort of economy. So now China, with the name of socialist country, huge gap rich and poor. In America, huge gap rich and poor is understandable because of capitalist. The socialist country, you see, that gap is impossible. But the Deng Xiaoping, you see, compelled to change socialist economy. Because, you see, stagnation. So therefore, I think sense of competition is good, but again, motivation. Just a self-centered attitude, competition, not good. But for bigger aim, so serving, so wider humanity, and you need more money for that with that motivation, you see, making more money is very good. One occasion, one family from Bombay came to see me, and you see, asked me blessing. Then I told them, it seems you are, say, a wealthy family. So the ultimate source of blessing is your own hand. You have some money. So now use that, from that money, some portion, helping the slums in Bombay, some facility, education about these children, slum children, and some facility about health. That's the best source of blessing, best way gaining blessing. So I told them. So like that. So our effort making more money and then share that money, you see, to needy countries or needy people, and including your own neighbor. I noticed in Washington, the capital of, I think, most of the richest country, but suburb somewhere, suburb Washington, there are some poor families. So now these, you see, you have the opportunity to help. So with that motivation, making more money, you, good purpose, good motivation, you become a slave of money is right. Okay, no problem. Next question.
Your Holiness, Tashi Delay.
Tashi Delay.
My name is Mira. Many of us have experienced and overcome adversities, such as depression, loss, injury, and illness. From your perspective, how can we learn from our suffering to cultivate compassion and acceptance? 투지체.
투지체. 그래서 그 쪽으로 가래. Now there, firstly, I think as I've already mentioned, the sincere motivation, compassionate motivation. Now, for example, more compassionate motivation create, I think, the because of the potential of our brain. Is it too much sort of as a narrow-minded, self-centered attitude? You see, your whole attitude become more biased. More compassionate mind, so they open our mind. So, in order to use our intelligence properly, the mind, calm mind, is very essential. With calm mind, then I think potential of our investigation, potential of investigation of human brain is in order to function fully. Calm mind is very necessary. Too much agitated mind, emotion, then that part of sort of special thing about the human brain cannot function properly. As I mentioned earlier, 3 dimensions or more holistic. In order to develop that, calm mind is very important. Now, without holistic sort of outlook, you cannot see the reality fully. Without knowing the reality fully, any effort then become unrealistic effort. So firstly, is a calm mind is the very important sort of factor. Then, as I already mentioned, you see, sincere motivation. Even some difficulty, some failure, no regret. So these are, I think, our common sort of Kasoda ability to analyze that way. And then, in now this case, now religious belief also sometimes helpful. As a sort of believer of theistic religion, God, Creator, all our life, our destinations, destiny, you see, ultimately related with God. So God, infinite love. So according theistic religion, God as a creator, almost like our Father, and no previous life and many previous lives, just this life created by God. So we are children of God. So that kind of belief also, you see, very helpful when you really facing some difficulties and more mysterious sort of level, how to do, you do not know, then believe God. That also very helpful. Then non-theistic religion, such as Jainism and Sankhyaism, one part of Sankhyaism, no creation, no creator. And Buddhism as well, no concept of creator. So then we have the concept of the law of causality on the basis of concept of life after life. So previous life. So that also, you see, no limitation, the beginningless of lives. So today's our experience, because of the conditions, the external sort of the certain things. But substantial cause is certain imprint in our subtle mind. That makes differences. You see, with certain sort of idea about these things, and when we made sort of every effort but fail, sometimes unexpected sort of things happen, then we also, you see, thinking that mysterious level due to our karma. And sometimes we Tibetan, you see, of course we believe karma. So sometimes when we become a little bit lazy, not much effort, then we just say, oh, karma, karma, karma. Right? So sometimes I think it also is helpful to carry a lazy life due to karma. That's not good. I think if you properly understand about the theory of karma, is the whole responsibility is on your own life. You must make effort. So there is no independent destiny. Destiny. Everything due to karma. So till today, you see certain karma already ready to ripen some result. Yeah. But today, you develop another sort of karma which more forceful than that karma. Then that karma's effect completely change. So everything, your own sort of action. So therefore, that way of thinking, karma, good. You see, your future is your own hand. You must carry your life meaningful, compassionate way. Then there's 100% guarantee future, nice future, and not only this life, but next life, like that. Then next.
Good morning, Your Holiness. My name is Andrea. We recognize your steadfast commitment to nonviolence concerning the Tibet issue. But we also sense that a number of young Tibetans seem to be growing impatient with this approach. How can Tibetans remain committed to nonviolence when the results of this approach often feel slow or unseen? Thank you.
I think Tibetan, before Buddhism came, I think 7th century, and particularly 8th century, then we Tibetan and the Mongols, I think more or less we are nomads, right? No proper rule. And you see, so our rule carried by our sword and spear. We, as a nomad with yak animal, we go from place to another place, go like that. Whenever you see we face some obstacle, we crush. And then eventually Mongolia as well as Tibet, you see Buddha Dharma reach there. Then concept of compassion comes and non-violence. I think 3 years ago, you see one, British Columbia, Mare did it, because American University, Columbia University, is he produced one book or published one book as a result of, I think, a number of scholars. You see, they, because of the study, they passed history in that part of the world. So they clearly mentioned 7th century, 8th century, 9th century, there are 3 empires: Chinese Empire, Mongol Empire, Tibetan Empire. The Chinese Empire paying more attention about political matter. The Mongol, more military. Tibetan Empire on religion, on Buddhism. So I think as there are sort of effort from 7th century, particularly 8th century, today I found, I think the complete form of Nalanda tradition available only Tibetan Buddhist tradition. The Chinese Buddhist tradition, same follow of Nalanda tradition, but not much study about Buddhist logic. And then the knowledge about emotion or mind or science of mind, these also not much pay attention for study. Whereas in Tibet, since 8th century, because the main person who introduced Buddha Dharma or expanded Buddha Dharma in Tibet, the Shantarakshita, one at that time, I think almost topmost the scholar of Nalanda institution. So he himself, great logician. His writing still there, we study. Then great philosopher, and his writing about Madhyamika philosophy, also we study. So the teacher himself, like that, very well sort of Kazoda, educated. So logically, he want his student follow that way. So today, I think ancient, the Nalanda knowledge is concerned, I think available only in Tibetan tradition. In Chinese Buddhism, and then through that way, Vietnamese Buddhist, Korean Buddhist, Japanese Buddhist, and then Burma, Thailand, Sri Lanka, Cambodia, Laos, these are mainly follow of Pali tradition. So on top of Pali tradition, the Nalanda Sanskrit tradition, the China and these countries are mainly follower. But then rigorous study, use fully Buddhist logic, that's available only in Tibetan tradition. So therefore, now, since Buddha Dharma came to Tibet, I think whole way of life changed. That community eventually become more compassionate society. Although most of Tibetan are non-vegetarian, we love meat. but generally, I think very, very compassionate society. Now, many Chinese also now notice that. So then, and also the realistic approach. You see, after the People's Republic of China established, China became very, very powerful, militarily also. So then, 1951, you see, Chinese forces already occupied or so-called liberated eastern part of Tibet. And then governor of Chamdo already become a prisoner of war. So eventually, you see Chinese leader, they said they prefer Tibet should be peaceful liberation. So you see, under leadership of Chairman Mao Zedong, the governor of that area already the prisoner of war, he brought to Peking, and then a 17-point agreement signed under threat, like that. So in any way, since then, suppose you see the Tibet liberation through peaceful means. Usually the Chinese literature usually say that. And then, so some kind of agreement between so-called local Tibetan government and the central government. Only Tibet case agreement there, no other Chinese states. So then, 1954, I went to Peking and met Chairman Mao Zedong and all leaders at that time. And then, as far as Chairman Mao Zedong is concerned, I have, I think, several meetings with Chairman Mao Zedong. So, at that time, I really, because of that, developed genuine admiration Chairman Mao Zedong. Great revolutionary and a great thinker. Wonderful. So eventually, my relation with Chairman Mao Zedong become almost like father and son. And I learned many good things about Marxism, about socialism. So since then, as far as till now, as far as socio-economic theory is concerned, I am Marxist. What do you think? So, one Marxist now meeting with student of capitalist. So, I really admire. So at that time, you see, we developed, I think good understanding, mutual understanding. So when I returned on the road, I met the general, because of the 18th Army, division, 18th Division, or general of that division. His name, Tang Koha. So when I returned, Tang Koha coming from Lhasa to Peking. On the road, I met him, we met. Then I told him, last year, 54, when I come, same road, full of suspicion and fear. Now after almost 1 year, now I'm returning, same way, now with full of hope and confidence. I told him. Then Chairman Mao Zedong also, you see, instead of, because of the according 7-point agreement, there's 1 point to establish Mercy Uyunlanga, Kasorda. How to translate?
Central Military Command Working Group.
Central military, political, or some kind of sort of organization. So that, in spite in 7-point agreement, there, the Chairman Mao Zedong asked me, now instead of creating that kind of sort of organization or committee, Now, instead of that, autonomous committee. And we really felt, now that's wonderful. So that suggestion come from Chairman Mao Zedong himself when I met one occasion like that. So at that time, I think Chairman, and then also my last meeting with Chairman Mao Zedong, he wanted to keep personal contact, and he gave me very good advice, how to lead people, how to listen to different people's suggestions, so on. Then that's 1955. No, 55. Then around 56, because of the reform carried by Chinese authority, according to their own sort of reform in China proper area. So that not suitable to Tibetan area. As we already sort of mentioned, Tibetan whole society more compassionate. So landlord and serf, there is compassionate. So in 57, 58, some sort of, because of the class struggle, you see, carried. The many serf people from serf support or protect their landlord, because whole sort of society, something like compassionate society. So the reform which you see implemented in China proper, when they start implementation of that same way, then crises happen. The many Tibetans then open revolt. So as a result, suppression. That's 1956. Then that, you see, spread. Firstly, Kham area, Litang. Then eventually Amdo area, 1957. First 56, that start Kham. Then 57, whole Kasada Kham and Kasajudi, Amdo area. Then 58 in autonomous region of Tibet. So then finally 59, the development happened. So then we already, you see, gained much experience. And in the meantime, Pandit Nehru, I seek advice from time to time from him. Firstly, the Tibetan refugees' education, their resettlement, and revival of the ancient monastic institution, all these, you see, discussed with Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So then he asked me, he told me, you have to sort of talk with Chinese government. He mentioned America will not come or will not go to war with China in order to liberate Tibet. He told me. It's practical. And 59, after a few years, since 59, we also appear United Nations. Nothing happened. So then, all the sort of experience through these sort of our effort, then Jawaharlal Nehru's advice. Then we, 1957, correct, 54, 74, 1974, we decided, now we are not going to seek independence or separation. You see, within the Chinese constitution, we should sort of have the certain right which is mentioned in constitution. So these should implement on the spot. Then we are not seeking separation. So middle wave approach. You see, then we start. So these, according as a non-violence principle, like that. So till now, although Chinese side always, you see, accuse us, and then some Chinese official even used to describe me as a demon or wolf with kasalupa.
Disguised in monk's clothes.
So when the first sort of comment, one Chinese official, Dalai Lama, as a demon, and I was in Italy, in northern Italy, number of Italy cities, you see, 10th of March, they usually kept Tibetan flag. So they asked me to participate, you see, one sort of meeting. So I was there. So one morning, the many mayors together and meeting some media people. Then one media people asked me, "Oh, now Chinese officials, described you as a demon. What is your response?" And then I mentioned, "Yes, I'm demon with whom?" I consider these are almost like a joke, nothing. So therefore, then those mayors also, you see, express, we also demon. So there is clear sort of signs of solidarity, really, yeah, like that. So very funny. So in any way, in spite, you see, still, you see, they consider me as a spiritist, like that. Because of their Remember, it suits their policy. You see, they simply want to suppress Tibetan. So, if they accept Dalai Lama's middle way approach, publicly accept, then there is contradiction. In principle, not spiritist. But then is it difficult to suppress, like that. So now more and more Chinese intellectuals, including Li Xiaobo, the Nobel Peace Laureate. Now he is still in prison. So many Chinese intellectuals. I think about 4 or 5 years ago, you see, we noticed about 1,000 articles in Chinese language wrote by Chinese. A Chinese from overseas Chinese and also from within China. About 1,000 articles. All articles, we noticed about 1,000 articles. All articles fully support about our middle way approach and very critical their own government policy. So this is the indication, the public level, intellectual level, you see, really supportive, like that. So middle way approach among Tibetan, you see, some people, you see, quite critical. Nothing happened. From our approach, middle way approach. But the reality, because we are approaching middle way, not seeking independence, number of Chinese openly support us. If we try to seek independence, then I think very few Chinese will support. And also when we met some Chinese in America and also some European countries and Japan, when we met some Chinese, say, we have sort of full confidence. We are not against Chinese. We are not seeking independence. So then, when we sit together, and we, at the beginning, many of the Chinese, a little bit sort of nervous and very negative attitude. When we talk, these things become clear. Everybody laughing, everybody become a very sort of close friend, like that. So, actually these ideas also, you see, thinking the oneness of humanity. And Han people and Tibetan people, historically, like brothers, sisters. So with that spirit, and as an admirer of European Union, I always say now emphasis of common interest. The mutual interest is the best way. One side lose or defeat, one side victory is impractical. So do you think some sufficient reason about middle way? Do you think some sufficient reasons, practical reason about our middle way approach is something sort of solid base, sound base, isn't it? If we try to seek independence, then firstly you come to India and train some guerrilla warfare, and then go to Tibet. That is impractical. So even you gain something, killing human being, the worst, no use. So the American president, his recent visit Saudi Arabia, I think selling $110 billion, the military thing. And I heard that uncomfortable. The military, because of the armament, the purpose of armament is killing. So American, you see the result of American technology, you see, helping more killing. I feel very, very sad. American people, generally, I think very peaceful, peace-loving nation, and the leading nation of free world. Like that. Now next, finish now. So thank you. Now we should, you see, I always look at you as a human brothers, sisters. And you also, you see, should feel we are same human being. We are part of 7 billion human beings. The future of humanity is everybody's interest. So we have to take serious concern about the well-being of 7 billion human beings. And secondly, we are a social animal. Each individual's future depends on the community. Today's world, according to today's reality, each individual's future depends on humanity. So humanity, peaceful, compassionate, happy, each individual, they get maximum benefit. If the humanity killing each other, big gap, rich and poor, and some people dying, especially those children. How can you remain because of the indifference? So please think seriously, especially as a young generation of America, great nation. Please think this more seriously and share more with your friend. Thank you.